Hello there. Today I would like to talk about the marker that marks the Earth's energy grid line. This marker is often known as the obelisk. In order to discover where the Earth's energy grid is located, someone placed an obelisk right in front of it. This obelisk's task was to indicate the exact spot to find the Earth's magnetic energy line. With the aid of the obelisk, in the town where I now reside, I have been able to discover an energy line in Sydney. This energy line has a fountain placed upon it. This fountain is called by the City of Sydney Council the Fountain of Life. Once a year, on the spring equinox, on the 21st of September at 5:55 p.m, the sun touches the pyramid on top of the obelisk and continues on the pathway to finally come down to drink from the Fountain of Life. It does this for 3 minutes only, and then waits another year to repeat the process. This was all designed by the teachers of a school that was built directly behind the fountain. The school was to be called the College of Liberal Arts and Studies. The college taught 7 liberal subjects, 3 of which were geometry, mathematics, and astronomy. With the aid of this knowledge, they perfectly aligned the obelisk to perform its allotted task. I learned that the person and organisation that erected the obelisk was the Mayor of Sydney, whose name was George Thornton. He was also the Grand Master of the New South Wales Freemasons. Now, because New South Wales has adopted daylight saving time, the sun now comes down to drink from the fountain at 4:55 p.m. I have watched and filmed this event on many occasions with my Masonic friends, who also wish to learn more about the lessons to be learnt from our past. What I did not learn until a few years later was that the fountain was located on the Earth's energy grid. One day I reread a book by Bruce Cathy entitled The Bridge to Infinity. In this book, it highlighted the number 555, which stirred my imagination. There was the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, exactly 555.555 minutes of arc from the Vatican in Rome. At the bottom of the page, this value 555.555 was divided by the number 8, which is 1 octave in music. Music is another subject taught at the college. When this number 555.555 was divided by the number 8, it gave the number 69.444, which Bruce Cathy had determined to be the speed of light in free space. It was then that I contacted Bruce Cathy's website, which he created with Rod Morpin. It was entitled Map the World Grid with Gridpoint Atlas. Rod Morpin sent me a Google Earth map of Sydney with an energy line passing through it. The line went straight through the Fountain of Life. From this moment on, I realised that Masons, and I use the term loosely to include all people who worked with stone, knew where these energy lines were located, and in order for future generations to discover these energy lines, they placed obelisks right in front of them, and then let the sun point the way. I then purchased a software package from Rod Morpin's site so I could locate for myself some of the world's energy grid lines. I am only going to name just one site that I found. That was the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. I name this site because a couple of years earlier I visited the Champs-Élysées and filmed the obelisk with its golden pyramid. Once again, I realised that the teachers from the Louvre College and Museum had been at work and could see from the grounds of the Louvre the obelisk perform its task of highlighting the energy line that passed through the Arc de Triomphe. The Arc de Triomphe was built as a war memorial to fallen soldiers, and it seems as if obelisks have been erected to the fallen soldiers, such as this obelisk, which was erected to the fallen Anzac soldiers. If Masons knew about the role the obelisk played in the Earth's energy grid, then they would place the obelisk upon their graves. This appears to be a common theme. After the uprising in Egypt, the names of the fallen were inscribed upon the obelisk to mark the energy they gave to this world. But these energy grid lines were also known to all ancient cultures. In Australia, the Aboriginals called them songlines. They marked the boundaries for each tribe. In order for a different tribe to enter into another tribe's territory, that tribe would need to know the chant or song required. This was their way of keeping harmony among the tribes. The songlines became pathways or tracks. They would even pass through waterways. In time, the foreign settlers followed these paths and placed their own roads over them. I give this little bit of information because that is exactly what happened in Europe and England. In England, these lines were known as ley lines, and they crisscrossed the country. When the Romans came, they paved these ley lines and made their own roads over them. If you could detect these energy lines, then you could build your own home on the line and harness the energy for yourself. On the website Map the World Grid with Gridpoint Atlas, they highlight where some of these energy lines pass through. One is Windsor Castle, where the Queen of England wishes to reside each weekend. Before it was Windsor Castle, it was a Saxon fort, so maybe the Druids of England also knew about these energy lines. The Mormon Temple in Salt Lake City, Utah, is also on more than one interjoining energy line. The foundation stone was erected by the Freemason Brigham Young, who also must have known how to detect the energy lines. But one of the most powerful symbols in the world, the Statue of Liberty, is also, according to Map the World Grid with Gridpoint Atlas, on the world's energy grid, as well as one of the most famous temples in the world, Angkor Wat. When did mankind find these energy lines? The answer to this question lies in the knowledge that upon the website is the original location of the Tower of Babylon, which I personally believe to be the first of mankind's attempt to build a space station. Since that time, we have built a new space station. This is on several interconnecting and interjoining energy lines. They pass through Cape Canaveral. I believe that the energy produced by the grid line may be able to power certain machines that we know very little about. One such machine is the Ark of the Covenant. I say this because Rod Morpin sent me some information highlighting that an energy line went through Axum in Ethiopia. The site he mentioned indicated that the energy line passed through a small temple which was built to house the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant had been taken there by the son of King Solomon, who built the temple at Jerusalem. By now it was becoming clear to me there was still so much to learn about the marker, which we know as the obelisk. So I researched more of Bruce Cathy's work. Bruce explained that he discovered the Earth's energy grid by changing some of the numbers around. Instead of dividing the day into 24 hours, he divided it into 27, and then converted this into geodetic minutes, degrees, and seconds. His grid pattern started to take shape, and the lines and the boxes reminded me of a symbol that I saw. It was this symbol. I also remember seeing this symbol placed upon the chest plate of the high priest. This box-like symbol gave Bruce Cathy the precise locations of these energy lines. I then learnt that the number 27, or 9 times 3 grid hours, or 9 plus 9 plus 9, is an important number all around the world. In England, they use it as the emergency number, which is 999, but it is also a sacred number to the Vatican in Rome. So I decided to visit the Vatican on the summer solstice, which is the 22nd of June. I set up my video camera and waited for the sun to rise in the morning. And at exactly 9 a.m, the sun lined up with the top of the obelisk and came down to touch the chair where the Pope would normally address the people. St. Peter's Square was nearly empty at this time because nobody had any idea or knew what was happening. But the aerial shot of St. Peter's Square, which shows it to be a replica of a keyhole, may give some clues to indicate some secret knowledge is here. Knowledge where you may need to be given a key. This key will let you into a special place, a place where you have to knock to enter, a place which is a school of knowledge. If you would like to know more about the obelisk or the marker, I have made a whole 1-hour video entitled Episode 2, which can be viewed on my website ancientsymbolist.com. If you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe, as there is more information that we can discover together.